Every classroom, every book, every teacher, it all starts with numbers. The census helps us understand how many students we need to prepare for, where new schools should be built, and what resources we need. Education is the foundation of our future, and accurate data helps us to build stronger. So participate in the 2025 Population and Housing Census, because every student deserves
a good education.
Mapping the present, shaping the future.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us right here on ABS for another special presentation. We're discussing the census and you, how you play a part in ensuring that the census succeeds and is completed as soon as possible. The National Bureau of Statistics now has scores of individuals, scores of enumerators who are found out across the country in various communities. They're asking you questions that are crucial for national development. They're explaining to you as well why those questions are important. Why it's important to ask so many questions, because the census has to include as much information as possible. It has to be comprehensive, because no national development can take place without empirical information. And that will last for the next 10 years. The census is conducted every 10 years or thereabouts. So as the census process continues, we are using this program called the Census and You to explain why it is important to conduct the census and why it is important to ask the questions that are being asked. So, in this edition of the Census and You, a special ABS TV presents a special ABS TV presentation. We are joined this evening by two Deputy Census Officers. To my immediate right, Tracelyn Joseph, and to her right, Rohan Anthony. They're here from the National Bureau of Statistics, as we said, to explain why it is important to get this done as quickly as possible. The census started last year, the 2025 National Population and Housing Census. You might think that you don't want to answer some of the questions. They'll explain tonight why it is important to answer the questions, why it is important not to shy away, why it is important that your details, your information, anonymous, your name is not going to be recorded and put publicly out there, but why your information is crucial to the development of your community and ultimately the nation. Very good evening to you, Tracelyn Joseph and Rowan Anthony. Really appreciate you having you.
Good evening.
Excellent. Even before we continue, even before we start off in terms of why this process is so important, there's been a fake video of individuals who, or should I say, a video of individuals impersonating your officers, your enumerators, and that has frightened some individuals from answering the questions.
That is true.
Just talk to me about that, please, Tracy.
Last year, when we did the pilot exercise, that video rose its head, and we had to do damage control. Then when we did the second pilot, it happened again. And today it has been circulating more on social media, mostly TikTok. And we just want to let the general public know those persons are not from the census, and there's no Ministry of Home Affairs in Antigua anymore. So they are not from our office. So when persons come and they say they're in 2s and 3s, that is not true. We will speak more about the blitzing exercise, and that's the only one where we have more than one enumerator in the same enumeration district.
All right, excellent. So people have to be very mindful that, again, just remind us, unless you're enumerated, or unless somebody comes to your house wearing what you're wearing, what both of you are wearing.
Okay, so
right?
yes.
Just talk to us about how they should look and what they should be wearing.
So first of all, when the enumerator comes to your doorstep, we have on our vest here. They should have on this vest with the census logo. They should have their ID. This is my ID in case I have to go on the field.
Right.
They should have their tablet. They should not be taking any information using paper. They have their census bag. And then they have a letter from us introducing you. So if I come to your doorstep, this letter is to introduce Tracelyn Joseph, an enumerator from the National Bureau of Statistics, the Census Office. And at the bottom of that letter, you have the different numbers that you can call to verify. And each enumerator has a number. That's a unique identifier. And we can just look in the database and say, yes, that's Tracelyn, and yes, she's working in Sevier Farm. So they must have the tablet, the ID, the vest. This is the bag that they carry everything in, and that letter that introduces them.
Okay, good. So unless individuals see, and as I said, those are some of your officers in this on assignment, actually in the communities.
Yes.
These were images captured last Friday while your team was out in the Grace Farm area.
Matthew Street.
There you go. Oh,
Because
to be exact.
they are part of the blitzing team, because for cohort 3, we have embarked on a new methodology that we are doing blitzing. The blitzing means that in the enumeration district that we choose to go in, if that ED has 4 blocks, you're going to have 4 enumerators, and they go in at the same time, and they get a block each, and they'll have the supervisor there on the ground. So it's a way of us doing it in 14 days that we can push the census forward so we can get out of the field before the end of the year.
Excellent. So that's the timeline. But again, it does appear, Mr. Anthony, let's bring you in here, that timeline depends on the response of the public, correct?
Yes, most certainly. And good night to you and the listeners, yes.
Absolutely. Good night to you.
In terms of the time we finish, it's definitely dependent on the general public. And that's why we continue to come here, go to all the other media houses and asking persons to cooperate with the enumerators when they come around, and to remind persons that how important it is for them to do that, because technically, not technically speaking, but legally speaking, they are obliged to do it. It's not if you want to situation, it's an obligation.
It's a national responsibility.
Yes, national responsibility.
Let's talk about why this is so crucially important, right? So this is, of course, the 2025 population and housing census. You mentioned that it's the law. Which legislation is that under, Mr. Anthony?
The statistics.
John.
The amended 2024 National Bureau of Statistics Act, Section 9 and Section 17, gives the National Bureau of Statistics the mandate to conduct a census. And there are penalties for persons who wishes not to be a part of the census. You can be fined up to $10,000, and you can also go to jail up to 2 years, no more than 2 years. And if you go to jail, say you get 6 months, and you come out and you still do not want to give us the information, it's $1,000 for each day you refuse to give us the information. That is law.
Okay.
And I just gave you a copy. So.
Absolutely, yes. This is Section 9 and 17 of the National Bureau of Statistics Act and the 2024 Amended Act, which is the National Bureau of Statistics. It's legally authorized to conduct the census. I suppose you wouldn't want to go this route, right? You'd much prefer people voluntarily provided the information.
That is what we call our last resort. We have never instituted that law, that part of the law, because we think it's so important what we're doing. And we want to use moral suasion to let persons know that, look, this is important, it is benefiting you, and we try to show persons where it benefits them. I mean, most persons have somebody who's doing some sort of studies, whether it be at UWI, overseas, at ABCAS, even in schools, primary school kids. They are using our information to do their work, but they cannot get it unless you provide it. So when you refrain from providing that information, you are sabotaging your own kids, your own self, even just for your general knowledge to know how many persons are in the country, the demographics of the country. You need that. So it's in your best interests to provide that information. Help us to help you.
Indeed, indeed. Yes, Tracelyn.
Also remember, all of us living here in Antigua and Barbuda, we are all part of the National Statistical System, believe it or not. And we are all data users. We use the data that is collected from the census in some shape or form. Because if you want to have investment, you want to be an entrepreneur, you need some data, some facts to do your business plan. You're going to the bank. You can't just go and tell the bank, I need a loan to open a business. You have to have the figures in front of you. You have to check the different communities, what's going on there. So all of us need this data in some shape or form.
It does appear to me as well that one of the challenges that Antigua, Barbuda, and the rest of the ECCU has, and indeed all small island developing states, is that there are data gaps. We don't have enough statistics. It is mentioned all the time that we don't have enough empirical, up-to-date data that are used to make the best decisions, practical decisions based on facts. It's normally by conjecture or anecdote. Oh, I think there are 5 people down there, but we don't have the facts to say it. This would help to change that, wouldn't it, Chaselyn?
Yes, the census. The fact that the census is conducted every 10 years, that is already historical data. In between, you may throw in some surveys. It might be a labor force survey or different surveys. But when you conduct a census, the instrument that we use to collect, it's designed in such a way to collect a lot of information in one go. Yes, the questionnaire might be long. However, for argument's sake, the questionnaire has 100 and something questions. You will not get all the questions. It based on your demographic, you will know what question you get because you'll get the skip patterns. So if I use your household, you, your wife, 2 children. 2 children are under 15 years. Their cutoff is at the education components. You are a working person, so you will get a different set of questions. Your wife, she is a female, she will get the fertility. You will never get the fertility section of it. She might be self-employed. She will get a different set of questions than you. If you're both employed, you will probably get the same question, but she'll get a little more because she's a female, so she has the fertility component. Based on your job, the job that you do, you will get those questions. Now, if you have a part-time job, you'll get another set of questions. But all that is helping us to improve life in Antigua and Barbuda and give the policymakers the empirical evidence that they can put policies in place to move the country forward.
Indeed. On average, so it's different, the number of questions varies depending on
the size of the household.
Say the size of the household, or your
the
gender,
the demographic
or
of the household.
whether you're working on or your age. On average, though, how many questions does each person answer? On average,
based on the skip patterns.
Okay.
It
So it might be
depends
about-
on you. It depends on you.
Okay. So what does it range from? So, you can get as few as what, 30?
Less than
40?
that. Less than that.
Can you get
Less
than
than
that?
that.
Yes, a person under 15 will get less than 30.
Less than
So a
that.
person under 15 would get
Yeah,
less than
less than
like
that,
about
yeah.
20?
Yes.
15, 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And depending on, for example, if you're working and depending on the age and so on, it could go all the way up to probably 50, 60, thereabouts?
It's not so much because we have the household part of the questionnaire. One person, the respondent, the reference person will answer, and that's that. Then you go to the person section of the questionnaire. So we're going to take your information and your children information, your wife information. But again, it comes down to what they do, what you do in your everyday life. That will determine the amount of questions that you get.
Okay, so it's quite manageable. On average, Rowan, how much time does it take to, for example, an enumerator to ask, let's say, for example, a household of 1 or 2, let's say, for example, a man and his wife. How long is that?
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
When you start as an enumerator, you go for the first time, it will take longer. After you would have become accustomed to the tablet and the questions, I think half an hour, you can knock off 2 persons, especially if they are not working and they're not a female who you have to have the fertility section. Half an hour, you can do 2 persons.
Okay.
And if you have
And you
one
can do a
person,
family up to an hour for a family.
yeah, it all depends
With 2
on that.
children.
And if you have
Okay.
one person in the household, maybe 20, 25 minutes, it flows. And that person giving you all information, it flows.
Okay. and they would have done their civic duty, their national duty, to ensure that their information is part of the statistical architecture so that it can help to make informed decisions. Informed decisions,
The
crucially
National
important.
Statistical System.
There you go, there you go. Let's talk about the fertility question. Some women were looking on this program and wondering, why are those important? Let's talk about that, Tracy.
It's about 3 questions. They ask you, when did you have the age of your first child? And did you have a child within the last year? And the sex of the child. I think that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are
That's
pretty
it.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. There's not like invasive questions.
No,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no.
There's some individuals who...
But let me
Yes,
add something
please,
here,
please.
because those questions are very critical to create the fertility rate of the country, okay? And that is why they ask. It's not just to find out why you have a last child. It's to create the fertility rate. And the fertility rate is used to look at the projected population going forward. So that is why the question is not just...
It's not being inquisitive. It's not like it's just being inquisitive or being salacious. It's to check on, because many countries in the region are having declining populations.
Right.
Because the fertility rate is
It's
getting
low.
low.
Yes.
And the replacement rate for example, for populations, let's say, for example, 2.1,
Yes.
roughly.
Yes, yes.
So each woman, on average, should have 2.1, of course, it's an average.
Yes.
So in other words, it gives policymakers an idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, to determine whether or not there is a major problem there. There's an alarming problem where the fertility rate is low or birth rate is low, and that has implications for the labor force, the labor market, for pension reform.
Yes.
I got it right?
We have
I
seen,
got it right.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and
Good.
we have seen in the last few years, fertility rate have dropped. Persons are not having 6 and 8 children anymore. They're having 1 or 2 or none at all.
Or none at all, yes, indeed. Okay, so crucially important. So it's not just because the enumerators are being voyeuristic. They just want to be inquisitive in your business. They want this information because policymakers want this information to determine whether or not any policies are needed for long-term development of the country. And to make sure that they can make these kind of decisions based on facts, figures, analysis, logical interpretation of the data, and not just conjecture or guesswork or anecdotal information.
This questionnaire is a harmonized questionnaire across the region, so it can be comparable. What we would have done for a few of the questions, we have made them country specific, because like in Guyana, they will have like swamps and those kind of areas, so they have a different set, but we would have tweaked the questionnaire to make it country specific. So we are all using this instrument across the region so we can compare apples and apples, not apple and grape, but apples and apples. And Mr. Anthony was a part of the team that helped to design the questionnaire.
For the region?
Yes. He was a
Excellent.
part of the technical working group.
Excellent, excellent. So this information is needed in all countries in the region, and in fact, all countries in the world. So it's not just the thing where people just say, okay, you think we want to just be inquisitive in people's business. We're going to find out some information about them. This is crucially important for development purposes.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr.
Some countries, like the US, they will have a shorter questionnaire because they do a lot of intercensal surveys that they can use to project their population and so on. We are not there yet. When we get to that point, and there are discussion already in the region about reducing the number of questions in the questionnaire because it is long. It is long, and persons' appetite for long questionnaires are dwindling. Actually,
people have short attention spans.
Yes, other things to do.
Yes,
than sit down and answer a long questionnaire. So the region is working towards that as a region, okay? But we are not there yet, and eventually we will get there, but a lot of things have to happen. Legislation have to change. A lot of things have to happen for that to happen.
So possibly by the next census in 10 years' time, that could be possible, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, all right. A lot of things take time. All right, let me ask you this. So convenience is an issue, right? There are some individuals now, having watched these programs, having watched the PSAs, having heard from, for example, at the start of the program, you heard from Dr. Colin Green, former principal of PMS, now the Commission of Sports. They would say, okay, all right, okay, their concerns might be addressed, right? They don't have any privacy concerns. We're going to talk about the privacy concerns again. It's important. They might not have privacy concerns, but it's a convenience issue for them. They just don't have the time, as you mentioned. Or when your enumerators go to them, it's a bad time, right? They're rushing out. How do you arrange with, do you kind of arrange with people to say, okay, can you set an appointment? So in other words, when your enumerator knocks on the door, that person may not be available at the time because they're rushing, they might be on a call, an overseas call, they might be in a Zoom meeting, they might be rushing to work and late, so they can't really talk to you. How do you do that? Do you then set a time that you arrange
yes,
for them?
the enumerator will make an appointment with them. We have a callback card. Each enumerator get a set of callback cards where they put their name and their number, and they leave that if the person is not there. We have had incidents where come to your household, gonna use you again,
sure,
and you say, look, I am cooking right now and I have an engagement shortly. Could you come back Friday, Saturday? They do make appointments, and some keep the appointments. Some will tell them come back, and when they reach, they're not there.
Come back
they're
again.
not there. But they do that, and sometimes when you start, persons will say, I am busy right now. I cannot deal with you right now, but you can come back. And you say, ma'am, is Saturday good enough for you? Or some will say, come back Sunday, because they have more time, and the enumerator will make the time and keep the appointment with that respondent.
Excellent. Let me ask you this then. Is there an opportunity and a facility where you can call ahead, even before your enumerators reach there? You can, let's say for example, you're in Grace Farm for a while, you'll be in Painters, where are you today?
We have nine places we are for the blitzing. This is for the blitzing, not the individual ED.
Right.
So we are at Lower Grey Hill. That's in Grace Farm area. Matthew Street, where your colleagues did the interview on Friday.
Right.
Then we're at St. Clair North, Herbert's. We're at Union Road South. That's Grace Farm again. We're at Upper Lightfoot 3. We're at Sugar Factory 4. Sugar Factory 2, Painters Paradise. So you have where Social Security build the houses up there. You have around the stadium. We have Sugar Factory 2, Painters Paradise. That's the North Zone gated area.
The suburban
right, and you have Sugar Factory 2, Painters Paradise. Okay. So they might start with Sugar Factory, but they are different areas. The enumeration districts are different. So in some of these, like Sugar Factory 2, Painters Paradise, that ED 41609, that has 4 blocks. So 4 persons are in that ED. So they'll be there until the end of the month, the next 14 days. And then 41608, that has 3 blocks, so you will have 3 enumerators in that block, along with so for the blitzing component, which we would have added, we can go out now with the town crier, because we have a town crier, and we can say, we'll be in this area for the next 14 days. But for the individual EDs, the individual one, not
outside
the
of the blitzing,
right, which cohort 1, cohort 2 persons are still doing, and even some from cohort 3, where you would get an ED for yourself. Those persons generally go out anything after 4 to catch people when they come back from work. But some will say, come back tomorrow morning, because you still have to try and catch the shift workers. So, people work, security people, and on Saturdays and Sundays is when you get the most people, because persons are home more on those days. So most of the time, the individual enumerators, they will go out in the afternoon, and if they are off, because this is like a part-time for them, they will try in the day, or if it's a holiday, to see how best they can get people.
Okay, so here's my other question now. So what if in these areas that you mentioned, several areas that you're operating, both as a blitz, where you have quite a few people in one area, or the individual ones, for example, from cohort 1 to cohort 2. What if, for example, individuals watching the program and say, okay, you know what, I'm convinced I need to play my, do my civic duty and participate in the census. but let's do it on the time when it's convenient to me. Can they call your office and set up an appointment?
Yes.
Can they say, I'm so-and-so, you can come to me at 10 in the morning on Saturday?
Okay, so this is where the callback card come into play. So if, remember, when my colleagues were here before and I was on the morning program,
Right.
we said we started in a phased approach. So we still are recruiting because we don't have enough persons. So we started with a phased approach. So you might live on this side of the street and you see your neighbor getting enumerated. I'm on the opposite side of the street, but nobody's on that side yet. So persons say, oh, you. So we have to educate them and say, we have not come to you as yet. But if a certain amount of time pass and nobody come, call 562 7495.
7495, okay.
Yes,
Good.
I had a senior movie.
No worries, man. That's okay. That's okay. You have a lot of numbers to think about, right? You
Yes.
remember. So 562
7495. That's
Good.
our direct census line.
Okay.
Yes.
So if the census enumerators are in your area and you
may
if
figure
a while
you-
passes and nobody comes to you, the person is gone.
Yeah, and then we
Yes.
can say, we're not on your side of the street yet. And sometimes people fall through the cracks and they say, but my neighbor live on just to the next, so you know you should have been. And they say, you didn't see a callback card? I said, no. And then we'll ask the enumerator to go back to that area and try and get the information from the person.
Good.
Maybe we should add this, Mr. Burford. Sometimes, we are humans. So you might see somebody doing enumeration that you do not want to give your information. So we make allowance to that also.
Okay.
So if you do not like the enumerator for some reason, whatever reason, you can call the office and make arrangements, and we will have the supervisor do that interview. Or if you even insist on none of those, and you want somebody from the office to come, we put ourselves out to get that information. We know how important it is to get information, so whatever we have to do to get information, we'll make the adjustment.
So you'll do what you can
Right.
to satisfy and to accommodate
right.
the individual, to facilitate the request.
Yes.
That, I like that. I like the fact that, because sometimes in a small society, I don't want Tracy Joseph and I don't want Rowan Anthony either, but Satchel Edwards can come, so you can call Satchel. Never mind.
Yes.
But
So
that's a fair point.
You have the pros and the cons, because
Yes.
even in the training, we ask the enumerators, we try to place people, especially those that are going single, closest to where they live. Some will tell you straight up, I don't want to work in my area. They say, I don't speak to the people. So of course you wouldn't want to work, because I wouldn't give you, if you don't speak to me, you can't come and ask me for my personal information.
Indeed.
No. And then you have some that will say, I get along with everybody, so I want to go there. But then I think last week when I was on one of the interviews, somebody said, why you send people that live in the same area to the area? It has its pros and it has its cons. And just as Mr. Anthony just explained, if you don't want her to come, I don't speak to her. And sometimes I say, I'm not giving you my information. You know you don't speak to that person. If it's your area, you give the supervisor the tablet and let them go and do the interview.
Fair
And
enough.
if the supervisor, go to headquarters because it's the chain. And then sometimes they say, I want somebody from the census office to come. So we take the tablets and we go and we get it done. Because at the end of the day, we want that data.
Absolutely. The data is key, and the
Yes.
data is crucial. Whoever did it, whoever
Doesn't
collected
matter,
it.
doesn't matter.
Yes.
So they'll probably say, well, I see Miss Joseph all the time on TV, and I see Mr. Anthony all the time on the TV.
Tell them
I
come.
want them
Tell
to
them
come.
come.
I want them to come. I don't want another person in my area. All right. Before we go to the break, Mrs. Joseph and Mr. Anthony, a few quick questions that individuals might have and they might want to clarify. One, does this have anything to do with politics at all?
No. Every interview that I would have done, that is something I preach. We have nothing to do with the red side or the blue side. We also have nothing to do with immigration, Inland Revenue Department, intellectual property, and
Nothing. Nobody.
Nobody. We
okay.
do not
We
share
shouldn't.
the data with anybody.
Good.
Everybody, when we disseminate the data, is disseminated in aggregated format. Names are removed, addresses are removed.
Telephone
You're in
numbers.
that count, you're in that based on what we're tabulating. We do not share persons' data, and it brings us to the confidentiality aspect of it.
Absolutely.
If you work for us part-time on the census, you have to take an oath of secrecy. And if you're home with your wife, you cannot be having pillow talk giving about person's information, because you can be fined that same $10,000 and confined and still go to 1735. And for
If you tell your wife, if one of the census officers tells your wife or husband that.
yes.
Wow.
Persons like, I went to Ron's house and you know he make 20,000 a month, and that is violation of the oath of secrecy that you would have taken. And all the census workers that we employ for this national exercise, they must take an oath of secrecy. The magistrate came, or they go to the magistrate court and they take the oath of secrecy, they affirm or they swear. And for every one of us that works at the National Bureau of Statistics and the census office, when we walk through the door, the very first day, we cannot take up anything until we go and take that oath of secrecy. And for us, it's for life. It's for life. So even if we both stop working at the National Bureau of Statistics and we have all what we would have saw, we cannot divulge that, because we can be fined and confined, because our oath of secrecy is for life.
Wow. So 2 years on the road, you can't say, yes, I went to so-and-so and I found out this about them. No, you can't say that.
No.
There's no statute of limitation in relation to this. No.
No. For us, it's for life.
Okay, good. Here's all the matter that, so that's important, because people always want to know that. The safeguarding of the information after you would have collected the information, after you would have aggregated the data and published all the data for the 2025 population and housing census. What happens to that data 2 years on the road, 3 years on the road, Mr. Anthony?
Okay.
He asked the right person.
Indeed.
He works very closely with the IT team.
Good.
Of course. We're in the information age. Yes. So that information is stored on a server, a secured server, that only certain persons at the census office have access to that data. You have access based on your need to have basis. So even though you work at the census office, you only have certain access, what you need to have. And that server is only accessible by us. No one else have access to that server.
Excellent.
And we, as a
And
disseminate,
that's in perpetuity.
yes.
So not like 5 years on the road, somebody else is going to have access to it.
No.
Okay. So what if you allow somebody else to access that information who shouldn't access it? Does a $10,000 fine and the imprisonment
Apply to us? Yes,
in
definitely.
that case?
Yes.
You could be locked up.
Yes. And jail.
Yes.
So you have to make sure that
Yes.
to stay out of jail,
Oh,
you
yes.
protect that information.
Yes. Without that.
All right, very good. Good to know
And
that.
it's encrypted, and the passwords are only shared with certain persons. And at that point, I must say that, at that point, the data is still not recognizable because the names would have been removed,
It's
the address would have been
aggregated. It's
removed,
aggregated.
your phone number would have been removed.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So at that point, where you speak to have that file being stored here in the server, it won't have any identification.
Here's a crucial question before we take our break. Do individuals have to give their full names when your enumerators come there?
No.
Okay.
We don't penalize. We would like to get the names, but some persons say, no, I'm not giving your name. So we John Doe, Jane Doe, Baby Doe. We don't make that be deter us.
Okay.
We say, okay, that's, or respondent 1, respondent 2. We don't, because some persons just don't want to give their name.
For various reasons.
So we don't fight you for that.
Okay.
So we train, when we do our training, we drum that into our enumerator's head.
Good. But either way,
Let me ask something.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because persons want to know why the name, the reason why we take a name, because for some reason or the other, we might have to come back to that household to get some
verify.
information, to verify something. So you want to be able to come or call and address you by your name. So that's the only reason why the name is there. It has no implication for data
Sharing.
processing, for data dissemination. It's
sharing.
just in terms of getting back to you if need be.
Okay, so it's a practical benefit of
Yes.
getting
Yeah.
not for the information purposes. Okay, so that's crucially important. But of course, either way, the name is going to be removed. So
Yes.
even if individuals give their names, and I'm pretty sure you encourage them to give their names for those purposes if you need to get back to them. So even if they give their names, that information will be removed along with their addresses and so on when you're aggregating the data, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
there we go. All right, we're discussing the census and you. When Stachel Edwards and Permanent Secretary, Stachel Edwards is the director of the National Bureau of Statistics, Colin O'Keefe is the Permanent Secretary in the ministry that, of course, coordinates the census and is responsible for it. When those two gentlemen were here last week, we discussed the fact that censuses have been happening for thousands of years. I mean, this is not the first time censuses are being done. They were done in ancient times as well. In the Bronze Age, civilizations used to do censuses. The Persians did them. The Romans did them. Stachel Edwards made the point quite well that in biblical times, when Jesus was about to be born, there was a census being done at the time. So, for example, individuals had to be moving and so on. So it is important. In fact, some of the first civilizations that were arranging themselves into a structure, like the Persians, who were very bureaucratic in terms of how they ordered their civilizations and satrapies and so on in different provinces, they had to do censuses. They had to know how many people were in the place, and so that they could have services available to those individuals. When we come back, we go into a little bit more detail on the questions. We'll hear from one of the enumerators on the ground, whom we spoke with last week, and you'll be hearing from her about, yes, why it is important to ask these questions. And don't think that they're being too sensitive and being too inquisitive and being too provocative in asking these questions. They really need that information. Your name is not going to be mentioned when the data is aggregated. It will never be made public. Your addresses will not be made public at all. They just need the data so that the policymakers can have something to go off. When we come back, the census in you continues. We'll be hearing, of course, as mentioned, from one of the enumerators who was in the Grace Farm area last week. And we'll discuss later on which areas will be covered in the next few days so that you can prepare to see the enumerators and to cooperate with them. There's no lion behind any bush here. There's no mystique about it. There's no gotcha questions to it. They just want the information that they ask everybody else. And we come out much more. Stay with us, please.
Why should we care about the National Housing and Population Census?
Every 10 years, the census collects demographic information on everyone living in Antigua and Barbuda, from babies to senior citizens.
This data helps allocate funding for healthcare, jobs,
and schools.
Every recreational field, every community center is dependent on accurate census data.
We just participated and we feel comfortable that our information is safe and secure.
Together, we're mapping the present and shaping the future.
Estamos mapeando el presente y formando el futuro.
رحنا عم نرسم الحاضر لتشكيل المستقبل.
描绘现在，塑造未来。
We are mapping the present, shaping the future.
If you plan to stay at home during a hurricane, there are things you can do to protect yourself. Monitor local radio and/or television stations for weather reports. Stay indoors until the impact is over. Stay away from glass windows and exterior doors. Evacuate to a neighbor's home or shelter if your home is damaged or if emergency personnel instruct you to do so. This message is brought to you by the Antigua Barbuda Broadcasting Services. For more information on hurricane preparedness, contact the National Office of Disaster Services at 462-4206.
My name is Twinai Payne. I want to highlight the importance of the population and housing census for farmers. Our participation is essential to secure the resources and support needed for agriculture growth and food security. By uniting our voices, we can ensure that agriculture receives the attention it deserves. Let's make our voices count and strengthen our industry by mapping the present and shaping the future.
The persons I interviewed, they were very helpful. They took the time because it is a long process, but they were very willing to give information. Well, there are quite a number of questions. However, it depends on the answer that you give. For instance, males, you don't have a fertility question to answer because, males cannot get pregnant, things of that nature. Children within a certain age, I think under 15, especially males, they don't have fertility questions to answer, income, things like that. So it depends basically on the individual that's answering the question. And it also goes with how quickly you answer the question. The quicker you answer the question, the quicker we finish the question here. Census is basically a compilation, or we're collecting data from households, individuals. We want to know about the housing and the population number. We want to know how much your income is, how your living arrangements are, your dwelling, what type of appliances, things like that we're looking for. So we're basically getting into your business, but be minded that it is very confidential. Any information that is given, we cannot divulge it to anybody at all. Nega business is essential to, for the community, for our island, so that we can know what amenities are needed. If we need more health facilities, we need more schools, more jobs need to be made available, things of that nature. We are coming, yes, to invade your privacy, as some persons are saying, but it is for a good purpose. The census will help us to know what is needed, who needs help, how quickly we can get that help. So it's planning, collecting information, and the quicker you answer our questions, the quicker we will leave you. So please, everybody, just when you see the enumerators come around, just give us a few minutes of your time, and the quicker you answer, the quicker we're gone. Thank you.
All right, that's a very concise way of putting it. That, by the way, is, you just heard there from Kishir, let me just tell you her name to be absolutely sure. So it's Kishir Nicholas John. We spoke with her last week Friday in the Grace Farm area. Matthew Street, there we go. Tracy Lynn Joseph reminds me the specific street is Matthew Street in Grace Farm. She, along with another of our colleagues there, of course, very, very clear, unambiguous way of explaining. As she says, yes, they're going to ask you some questions, but there's a reason these questions are being asked, because it determines whether or not, for example, in a particular area they might be need for more of a particular resource, more health centers, more schools. The authorities will be making that determination on the basis of facts and figures, empirical information, hard data, and not just what they think or what they feel. Crucially important. All right, so excellent to hear from Mrs. Nicholas John there. So still with us, Tracy Lynn Joseph and Rowan Anthony, both are deputy census officers. They are here from the the National Bureau of Statistics. And the census office has been in the field for months now. They started last year. That's why it's called the 2025 Population and Housing Census. They want to complete it by this year. So we can't say it enough why it is important to cooperate with them, right? Because if you don't cooperate, they don't get to finish this year, and it goes into another year again. And Tracy Lynn Joseph and Rowan Anthony, I get the impression you do not want to go into another year altogether, because you started last year. So you'll be stretching over 3 years.
Yes, And the longer we stay in the field, the more costly it becomes.
Absolutely. And I figured it's already quite costly
Yes.
as well to engage the enumerators and get tablets and bags for everybody and to make sure everybody looks uniform and to get vests and everything. Just remind us again, for those who would have joined us along the way, who missed the first part of this program, let's remind our audience how an enumerator should look and what they should be carrying to make sure that they are bona fide, and they are legitimate.
So as you would have seen Mrs. Nicholas John, she had on her vest, she had her ID around her neck, she had her tablet in her hand, she had her bag, and she also had that letter.
Just hold up the bag again first, please,
Yes.
for the camera. Yes, perfect,
This is
excellent.
the
So it
bag.
should look like that, a grey bag.
And this is the ID.
Good, good. And
And
that's your
of course,
ID that you
this
it's
is-
not
yeah,
just a,
if
it's
I
not just
have-
a mock ID, this is
No,
your ID.
if I have to go on the field, I have to have on my ID. You cannot go on the field without the vest, the ID. You can go without the bag, but you must have this and you must have the tablet.
And you also told me that a letter is you.
Yes,
Every
every numerator, even those that are doing the blitzing, you have a letter that will introduce you to the respondent. If they're still skeptical whether or not you're working with the census team. And at the bottom of the letter, there are 3 numbers, 562-7495, 462-4775, and 462-3233.
That's good.
Yes.
You remember those? Very good. You have a good memory. Excellent. All right. You didn't even look at the paper. Excellent, Tristan Joseph. Thanks. So that's how that's how an enumerator should be looking and what they should be carrying. So you are certain that you're not giving your information to an impersonator. So firstly, make sure that you are clear that it is an enumerator from the National Bureau of Statistics that you're engaging with, and that's the way to find out. Okay, good. So let's now look at again why it is important that this information, we touched on the fertility questions, for example. We said why it is important to ask those because we need to know, for example, if there's a declining population, what needs to be done, how urgent the problem is, because almost all societies in the Caribbean are having declining populations, but some more urgent than others, right? So we need to find out how bad it is here, and so on. But some of the other questions, why is it important to ask me how much money I make, Ron Anthony? I'm going to come back to Tristan after this.
Yes. Income.
Yeah.
You know, labor is one of the critical parts of a country's economy. So you need to know about the living standard of persons, how many money, your income, your amenities in that you have. So we're looking at living standard. That's why we ask for income. And to look at it's also used for national accounts, those information to know how the national income of the country. So that's why we ask those questions. It's not to know how much Mr. Burford worked for, but it's to put Mr. Burford income with all the income in the country so we can work out things by per capita income and these kind of things. Absolutely. So it's not just to get your personal income, but it's to use aggregatedly to compute different
economic metrics, crucially important.
Yes,
because
yes.
we talk about, for example, on the news, we talk about macroeconomic indicators and so on. We talk about the microeconomy, perhaps not as much as the microeconomy. Yes, of course. So now you're having the empirical data on that.
Yes.
So that's why it's important to ask, like, the appliances and so on in somebody's house, right?
Yes, motor vehicles, telephone, if the household have internet, all that. And one of the key indicators that we need to know about our country, do we have an aging population? Do we have a young population? Do we have a middle class population? So this census will give us that information. Because every day somebody dies, but at the same time, every day somebody's born. And maybe every day somebody migrates here or leave. So all those factors is going to determine our growth rate, because at the end of the census, we will do our projections for another 10 years, and all this is dependent on what we receive from the respondents on the ground.
I get the impression as well, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you are able to then to look at, for example, 30 or 40 years of census data, because it's done every 10 years, and you're able to look at trend analyses.
Yes.
You're able to look at trend lines to see whether or not our population is going one way or the other, how the levels of migration, outward and inward migration, how the levels, for example, of socioeconomic development and so on.
We do that, and also we use administrative data as well to look at the trends and see where we get data from Social Security, we get data from health, courthouse, the
registry.
The registry.
Right.
So we use those to look at the trends and to see where are we going. And like I said, we do the projections. So now we would have done projection in 2011 up to 2026, which we're in 2026. So when this census is finished and we get that count, we would know whether we got it right, or we were off, or we were over, or we were under.
Absolutely. So when you finish, yes, please,
because
please.
to go back to the population growth and natural replacement and so on, we are, based on the last census, it is already being seen that the population grows by immigration, not by natural replacement, not by births, but by immigration.
Yes.
Because, as we said, birth rate is down, fertility is down. So if we didn't have persons coming in, population would be declining.
And then, we had free movement. We're part of the OECS, we move freely.
Yes.
So that will make a big difference.
Absolutely. So let me, in relation, you mentioned earlier, Rowan, that it is about you're helping individuals in the public to help themselves.
Yes.
You mentioned, for example, the school data that is used in various educational institutions. Somebody doing a research paper, somebody doing a thesis. They would need empirical data to go off, right?
Yes.
So that's important. But it seems to me that even in more practical ways, individuals can help themselves, so that in a particular area, there might be significant levels of higher population in a particular area. Population might be growing significantly in a particular area, but they don't have enough facilities, services, health facilities, water, educational facilities like schools. Wouldn't that be crucially important to have the data so that we can say, policymakers can say, well, that area is growing particularly fast, so we need to ensure that the level of services is commensurate with the growth rate of the area?
Yes, that is a very good assessment. So when we went to school, we know Antigua and Barbuda have 6 parishes. But for census and survey purposes, we have 8, because St. John's is divided into St. John's City and St. John's Rural, and Barbuda becomes a parish. But with that example that you just gave, let's use Fries Hill Road. That's a business powerhouse on both sides of the street.
Yes.
And that is in St. John's Rural?
Part is city, part
of it is city and part is rural.
Okay.
Right?
The western side.
The top part is
the western side.
The western outside is the rural.
Right. So right there and then now, policymakers say, wow, 10 years ago, we didn't have all this, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have all this commercial activity businesses on that. Everything was centered in St. John City proper.
Right.
So now we have that. Then you can go over now to English Harbor. Different geographical location, different parishes, and a lot of business activities are going on. English Harbor is a thing, that's St. Paul's. Right. So now what do we need to do? Do we need another police station somewhere in between? Do we need another clinic? So this is what the census data can be used for, to help the policymakers to plan for more social programs, plan for more investment opportunities, plan for more schools, education. Then we have we now is at 5 Islands. So now you're thinking we need another school in this area. So we have persons coming in now to go to University of the West Indies. So all this will help planners, for us as a country, to do proper succession planning. For us, if we want to be entrepreneurs, go in the bank and do our business plan, we need to go to the statistics division, National Bureau of Statistics, and see the figures I can get to help me in developing this paper or this plan that I want to execute that will benefit Antiguans and Barbudans down the road.
Excellent. So it's like the data that you have, that you will be collating when you finish the census, is going to be so crucial for everyone, not just for policymakers, but for ordinary individuals, the ordinary Antiguan and Barbudan.
Yes. And to add to that, as a country, we would have signed on to many things. We're Sustainable Development Goals, 2030 is our reporting year. And we are looking to the census for a lot of data to compile some of these indicators. We have 17 goals, and most of them, we need surveys or censuses to compile the indicators. So we have a lot riding on that. We are the Center of Excellence after SIDS last year. Right. We need data to feed into that. We have CHOGM.
Data hub.
Yes. We have CHOGM coming up. We need data to feed into the different things that Antigua and Barbuda would have signed on to. And when we as technicians and policymakers travel and we go to all these conferences, whether it's regionally, internationally, and you see if Anguilla is not there, it's Antigua and Barbuda first. And you see Antigua and Barbuda, but you see that big NA. It does not mean not applicable. It means not available. And you sitting there feel so when you see Little Montserrat and everybody else have their nice data and we have NA. It makes you as the individual sitting down there feel like you just want to take you in, because what are you going to say? And then when you have to do the PowerPoint presentations, and then you cannot report it because we don't have the data and we would have conducted a census. So this is, persons need to be educated that we need, it goes back to what I said earlier, we need this national data in some shape or form because it's going to benefit us individually and as a country.
Otherwise, you end up using very dated information,
and
like
then
10, 12 years ago.
No, somebody's going to go to Google and they're going to find something on Google and they're going to say, and then we are the technicians and statisticians will say, where did they get that data from? So we need, this census can give us empirical data that we can use for so many indicators that we need to calculate as a country.
Just before I come back to Rowan Anthony about how long it will take you to collect this information after you finish gathering the information. So when can we look forward to the final product, which is the aggregated data, without names, without addresses? It's impersonal data, right? It's an aggregate. What about Barbuda? Are you doing blitzing in Barbuda too?
No, Barbuda has 6 EDs.
No, 8 now.
8 now? Okay. Barbuda has 8 enumeration districts. So the team, the package is there to go over.
Yes.
The package is there to go over. So they're going to start.
They're going to start?
No. Okay. They're going to start and finish way before us on the mainland because we have 400 enumeration districts, and in total, when you minus 8, how much you have?
392.
So, and we're still going slowly over here. So they're going to finish before us. They have already been trained. They have been a part of the training. We have our enumerators. So it's just for the package. Their package is now to go over. Their bags are packed, and it's just for them to go over. So we have the enumerators over there. We have a supervisor, a field supervisor. We have a headquarters officer, and the QoS will come from over here. Because when you collect the information on the tablet and you sync, it goes to the quality assurance supervisor, and that person checks. If the questionnaire is fine, they accept, it goes up to headquarters. When headquarters do their final check, another layer, and it's correct, it goes into accept, it goes into our database.
Good.
But let me add something for Barbuda before we go.
When do you start, by the way? I just want to know.
Let me add something. This will tell you what.
Please.
Because as Chazen said, everything is already set for Barbuda. The reason why they haven't gone over yet is that no one can start the census, as we have said before, until they take an oath. And the Barbudans have not taken the oaths yet because the magistrate system. So we are in
trying to iron that out.
Conversation with the magistrate here to organize for Barbudans to take the oath. And as soon as that happens, they will start.
Will they come over and take the oath, or the magistrate has
That's
to go
what
over
we're
there?
trying to have.
Okay, if I'm trying to find out
we
the
know
logistics.
we know
okay.
the magistrate goes over sometime. We want to know how soon that will happen, as opposed to whether we have to do it virtually or whatever is best or easiest at this time, because we really want them to start.
Okay.
And the last time I hear, I said, Barbie is my baby. Okay.
Indeed.
I take care of Barbie personally.
Yes.
And I am always proud of Barbuda, because Barbudans take their situation serious. They participate.
So you don't get any sort of lack of cooperation from
No.
Okay.
Not
with the census, certainly not.
Not for any kind of surveys.
Okay, good.
Barbudans.
Good to hear that.
Yeah.
Good to hear that. Let me ask you, so after you collate all the information on both islands, 400 enumeration districts for the purpose of the census, how long it will take you to collate that information and to aggregate it and to make it available?
Data capture, as you see, is long and tedious. It is no different for data processing.
Oh my.
The only thing about data processing that makes it different is that we now have all the data and we have technology. The previous census, when we had to transfer the information from paper to scanning and all that, really drawn out system. It will not be as long as that, but it still takes some doing. I will want to say that if we get out of the field by December, in a couple of months, we will have preliminary information, but it will take several months before we get the final information. But preliminary information could be forthcoming a few months after we would have come out of the field.
Okay, a lot of crunching of the numbers will happen after that. Okay, good. All right, well, I literally have a minute left. Just to give you 30 seconds each, starting with you, Trace Lynn, your message to the public, just to tell us where will you be, let's say, for example, tomorrow for the remainder of this week, and individuals in those areas, I get the impression, would they be able to call and make an appointment to say, I can't, the census people might be coming to me at 10 o'clock, I'm not going to be available, but I'm available at 4 o'clock, they can come at 4. Can they make an appointment?
Oh, yes.
So there's the callback cards that our enumerator would leave at your doorstep. They're gonna write their name and their number, so you just call them and you make the appointment with them. They don't have to call the census office. They deal directly with the enumerator.
But that is if a callback card is being left.
If a callback card is being left.
So do your enumerators leave callback cards
Yes,
when
they
they
do.
don't
find the person?
Sure,
yes,
okay.
that's how
fair
they
enough.
were trained.
Okay, fair enough.
But at the same time, we can speak about the blitzing area, which I would have mentioned earlier.
Right.
But remember, we have people from cohort 1, 2 in the field as well. So they're still doing what they're supposed to do. Some persons from cohort 1 have finished already, and some of them have become part of the blitzing team. So for the areas, we have Lower Grey Hill, Matthew Streets, St. Clair North Herberts, Union Road South, Upper Lightfoot, Sugar Factory 4, Sugar Factory 2, Painters Paradise, Sugar Factory 2, Painters Paradise 3, and Sugar Factory 2, Painters Paradise 4, which is, one of them is the Social Security Housing Project, the North Sound Gated Community around the stadium, and Sugarfoot, the Guntrops area below there. So
I think one is in Herberts.
and one is the one in Herberts, and you guys have been in Grace Farm. So those are for the blitzing, but we also have our other enumerators who do come out in the different EDs that we have touched thus far, because remember I stated it's a phased approach. We still have some more EDs to do, and we're still recruiting. It's statistics.gov.ag. You go to our website, on the home page you see the census tab, you click on it, you scroll down to the bottom of the page and you fill out the form. It goes into our database and someone will call you for an interview, and you'll be in the next cohort that will be trained. And we just want to say thank you to all who would have participated already, and we encourage persons, when our enumerators come to your doorstep, please give them your attention and a little of your time, and be kind to them and not be cruel to them. It's a national exercise. and we are all part of the national statistical system. We are all data users, and we're just asking you to partner with the census office so we can execute this national exercise. It's going to benefit all of us, as Sahi said, mapping the present, shaping the future.
All right, there we go. Excellent. Ms. Joseph pretty much took away all of your time, but I can give you 15 seconds. What do we make, Rowan? Final comments.
She said it all.
She said it all.
But I will just said pretty much the same thing. Give the enumerators the support they need. And one thing I want to say though is that I'm hoping that some of these people who are doing the blitzing at the moment, they are educators, teachers, they are at UE and so on. I hope they are able to stay on for past the summer and do some more blitzing in September, October, and help us get the census done.
All right. Time is of the essence. The National Bureau of Statistics wants to complete this exercise by the end of this year, or even sooner. The sooner the better. And that depends on your cooperation. This is, again, they have assured that they are making sure that they are at pains of prosecution, fined and confined if they were to misuse the data that they collect. They take an oath that they cannot share the information with any unauthorized individual. If they were to do this and they are caught and convicted, they go to prison, right? So the National Bureau of Statistics, they want to assure you that your data is safe. And even after they collect this information, after the census is completed, that the data will continue to be safe, that it will be stored in a secure manner, that no unauthorized individual will have access to it. They are assured that it has nothing to do with politics. It will not be shared with immigration. It will not be shared with the Inland Revenue Department, so the tax collectors will not come calling after the census. It will not be shared with them, your individual data, that is. Everybody will have access to the aggregated data when they finish, without names, addresses, and so on. The data that will be impersonal will be shared after it is finished, but not your personal information with anybody. They've assured that. So, with that having been said, they're asking for your cooperation and your participation. It'll take probably 15, 20 minutes, depending on how many questions you have to answer, depending on your situation. If you're a man, you don't have to answer the fertility. You will not be asked the fertility questions. If you're a woman, you will not be asked questions that will, for example, pertain to men, etc., etc. Trace Lynn Joseph and Rowan Anthony, Deputy Census Officers, have been very kind to share their time with us, and they're asking you to share your time in the same way with the enumerators when they come to your house. They might be coming to your house tomorrow. Prepare for them. If you can't accommodate them then, indicate to them when you can, and they'll return. That's it for another edition of The Census and You. We're giving time here on ABS for this education about the census because it is that crucial, because information, empirical data, is crucial to any free and democratic society. It is needed for planning, development, and to make practical decisions based on facts, not conjecture, not hearsay. This has been another edition of ABS TV Presents. Join us next week, same time, same place. See you then. Bye-bye.